This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Face Off, which I saw in theaters back in 1997. Now, Nicolas Cage had two movies at the theater that year. One sucked, which was Con Air, which I thought was stupid. The other one I thought was terrific, which is Face Off, and we'll get into why I thought it was terrific as we go on. I have somebody from that movie on the show here today. Folks, I give you Mr. Tony Boldi. How do you do, Tony?
Hello. Wonderful, man. I'm great. We're having such a fun ride. 25 years, man. Talk about a flashback, just a major boom. Yeah, that was fun, man. I did a lot of movies that year, and that was one of the big ones. I did Contact. I did
Yep.
Father's Day. A lot of cool stuff that year. I had a really good run.
I saw Contact at the theater as well.
Wow, just amazing directors and amazing experience. And that's what I when I really learned how to do what I'm doing today. Just watching the great people. I mean, these people were legends. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so well, I'm honored to be on your show. So
Yep.
thanks.
Well, if you were in Con Air, I probably wouldn't have reached out. I thought that movie was so stupid. I don't get the cult following it has. I felt myself getting dumber as I watched it.
Mhm.
Face Off, on the other hand, really made me think about something.
Mhm.
Because, of course, the background, you got Nicolas Cage playing this assassin
Mhm.
and John Travolta playing this agent. And there's a situation that happens where, through some kind of plastic surgery, they have to switch faces in order to get information. And of course, something goes wrong, and the Nicolas Cage character is out with John Travolta's face, and John Travolta's agent is in prison with Nicolas Cage's face.
And you know what's wild about all that?
What's
They're
that?
actually attempting that currently. They've done it a few times, for tragic situations, people in horrific car accidents and burns and mutilation, and they've done it a couple times. They've changed. If you look up on the internet, you can go
Hmm.
see that they've actually done it. It takes a lot of surgery. They go through a lot of pain, but they've actually done it. Now they're talking about total head transplants. Can you imagine? I mean, your spinal cord and your brain. So they've been attempting that on animals. The animals haven't lived long, but they have lived, so they've done it. It just is it's not a long lifespan, but they're trying everything, man. I've been watching a lot of these weird conspiracy theory and scientific shows that they're doing. On YouTube, you can go down these rabbit holes really fast. But the things that the AIs can do, they actually have an AI finger, right? A robot that has
Yeah.
human skin growing on it, which means eventually we'll have an AI, a robot, a humanoid that will have human skin from head to toe. Think about that.
Wow.
And then take the head transplant, put that on the humanoid. I mean, this is not the future. This is now. This is the stuff they're talking about now.
Gee, if only I could afford it, I could get one that looks like Emma Stone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was 25 years ago, and they'd already been talking about that because most of those big budget movies, they're basing it in reality, right? They're talking to experts and people in the scientific field,
Mhm.
so of the plausible possibilities, and then they base a movie on it. So, 25 years later, here we are. But you know,
Well, one of the things that really put me on the edge of my seat, I mean, both movies put me on the edge of my seat. Con Air put me on the edge of my seat of leaving the theater.
mhm. Brought up.
But with Face Off, I was on the edge of my seat because it's like, I just sat there thinking, the agent might not be able to get his body back unless he damages it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, the risk,"
Right.
you
So you
know?
were able to watch this movie as a real person watching it unfold versus seeing all the Hollywood magic that we see every day because this
Yep.
is the business we're in. So sometimes it's hard for us to watch the narrative of a movie knowing how
Mhm.
it works. It's like watching a magic show knowing all the magic tricks.
Yeah. Well, Face Off actually, like, yes, it's got a lot of the mindless action in it, but it really got me involved. Like the
Mhm,
stuff that, because they had their faces switched.
mhm,
It was like, oh my goodness, one is meddling with the guy's family
mhm.
and telling the agent's daughter to do this or that, and the other guy's got to get out of prison, but he's got Nicolas Cage's face. And the performance style out of Travolta and Cage were really good on that level too, you know?
Amazing. We
Yeah.
worked with John Travolta on a couple movies. We did another one that we were involved in. You probably heard of Gotti when John was
Yeah.
trying to do Gotti. Now, not the movie obviously didn't do very well, and the budget was very low. That film started; it was $10 million in the hole before it had even started. So they had to make up the 10 million before they shot one frame. And so a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. I'm a full-fledged producer now, and
Mhm.
had the great pleasure working with Gary Marshall, before he passed, God rest his soul. And
Mhm.
I've sold some movies to Warner Brothers and, played at MGM. Done some fun stuff in my career. Did some casting with Mary Jo Slater at MGM. So starting my career on a movie, my first movie was actually Contact. And then I think it was like probably this one, and then
Mhm.
On Air, and then just, I'm not Con Air, you got me saying that now, Contact. And you see these people and how there's hundreds and hundreds of people that are just little ants that are doing what they're supposed to do. Then you go to the independent world where I really got to learn how to make movies. It doesn't work like the big budget world at all. And you really learn how to make a movie like the raw style, which I think is the best education, is getting in the field and just really learning how this stuff works. At that big budget level, everybody knows their job. Everybody's, you do what you're supposed to do. It's all union. There's not much learning. You just show up, hit your mark, and go home. But I mean, it's fun. But those gritty independent films, those are where those are the films that I like to brag about.
You know what? I don't blame you. I just saw X at the theater back in March. I saw it 4 times.
You're a true fan.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And that looked like something that was shot in 1979 where the movie's set,
Mm-hmm.
and it obviously did not have a huge budget, but it looked great, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, I love the independence,
Yeah.
and, especially love it when it's done right,
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But before we talk more about Con Air, or not Con Air, frig,
We're both doing it. You set it up for
frig, I hate that movie. Um, Before we talk more about Face Off, I wanted to get a bit of your background and what led you to get into producing movies and appearing in movies, and you've acted, you produced, you've done the whole schmear.
it. Hmm.
Talk about what led you to that.
Well, I've always been an artist. I've always had a fascination for artists, graphic artists, people that do illustration, people that are musicians, just any type of art. I was always fascinated because I wasn't really born with that creative bug. I was
Mhm.
born with the ability to have great rhythm. I was a dancer. I played drums my whole life. I got a record deal. You probably remember the band Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, Tool, Jane's Addiction, all that whole generation. I came through. You probably don't know Skinny Puppy, but there's a guy named Fluffy.
I've heard
Oh,
Skinny
okay.
Puppy. Yeah.
Lee
Who's is that?
Popa from Pigface. We got signed by a guy named Lee Popa, and he was the engineer for Living Color. And I met him. I used to run a theater in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he came through with Living Color, and we got to know each other really well. And he ended up signing our band. The band was called Vatican. Any fans from back in the day? Vatican Artistic Noise, because the Vatican told us we couldn't use the name Vatican, and you don't want to mess with the Vatican. So we changed it to Vatican Artistic Noise, still spelled Vatican. And we went off and had a nice little tour and nice little record deal with Lee Popa. Thank you so much if you're watching this. And it got us out to LA. And I was out here for about 6, 7 months back in '89.
Mhm.
And some of your listeners weren't even born then. But I
Ah,
experienced that I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. And so I went back to school, got my degree, got a couple degrees, came back out here, and but without the band this time in '96. And I owned a bunch of restaurants in Michigan
mhm.
and nightclubs and stuff. No one would hire me even as a busboy in LA. It was all who you knew in LA. I'm like, I got to make money. I got bills to pay. And so I saw this little, we used to use paper plates, and you cut those little things out and you'd write the number on, you rip one off, you call it. Well, it was for acting work. And said, you
Hmm.
want to be in Hollywood? Call this number. And I called the number and I registered and signed up. And next thing you know, I'm being put on movies, on movies, on movies. And I'm starting to get lines. And I got a year in General Hospital when it was called Port Charles. And then I started doing reality television. And I ended up on Millionaire Matchmaker. And I did every dating show you can think of. And all my bills were being paid and then some. I was like, this is a good living. Plus, I get a little camera time. I get recognized when I walk down Sunset Boulevard. And I'm like, maybe I should go learn how to act. And so I went into acting school. And that's where I caught the bug and got pretty good at it and started booking a bunch of jobs and started doing independence. But when I was on set, I was like, I want to do what they do. And so I started talking to all the producers and ADs, and then they brought me in as a PA. And then from there, key set, and then second AD, and then first AD, and then directing, and then producing. And then I'm like, well, where's the money at? And they're like, well, that's the investors and that's the distributors. So then I got into distribution, and I'm like, well, where's the money? And then, well, that's the investors and the banking. And it just kept going like, where's the money? There's no money in Hollywood, but there's all this fame and glitz and glamour and royal, but yet, when you're done, you got to go get a day job. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And so that's when I started this, not, it's soup to nuts, really. It's everything you could possibly think of. If you can come up with the idea, we can sell it. We can make it, we can sell it, and we can make more. And so that's kind of what we do now. And we have a couple companies. Life Force Indie Films is one, Majestic Entertainment's another. My business partner's over a showrunner at Viacom, which is now Paramount. And so we've positioned ourselves real pretty now. We've got people take our calls. In other words, you're doing well when people still take your call.
Yep.
So yeah, so we're doing pretty well. We're getting ready to go do a shoot next week in Alabama, and it's on the mocap suits, the motion capture suits that they used in
Yep.
The Mandalorian. So we're
Yep.
at that studio, and we're going to do that and some green screen and some wire work and all sorts of fun underwater aqua scenes, doing a fairy tale, doing some super stuff. So that's where we are now. We get to play in these studios, and I get to do what I've always wanted to do, and that's like think it up and then go do it. And so yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What would you say out of all the films that you were part of, what's your greatest experience? I know that's a
It
broad
is a broad,
question.
but I got to tell you, my first real big movie was Contact, and nothing will ever top that movie. I mean, it was Rob Lowe and James Woods, Matthew McConaughey. I mean, the list. Robert Zemeckis was the director. I mean, it was
Jodie Foster.
yeah, she was the star of that movie. She was amazing. And so, I mean, to work with all these legends and to watch what they do, and I mean, Robert Zemeckis is an amazing director, and he's got a
Yep.
great body of work. You guys probably all know who he is, but to
Mhm.
work with these guys and to work with Robin Williams and Billy Crystal on Father's Day, and I mean, to have an hour talk, just sitting me and Robin Williams, the late great Robin Williams, and to pick his brain and to understand how he did what he did and the way he approached his art. I mean, there's nothing like it. And to mosh, I used to be a punk rocker, and I moshed with Billy Crystal. You know what I mean? It made the papers that I actually moshed a little too hard and knocked him on his butt. And here's the star of the movie. And I just told it, well, we were in the mosh pit. You don't get in the mosh pit. They're like, this is acting, dude. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But it made the press, and how fun was that? And I'm like, oh, I see how to get press. Be a little controversial and you'll make the papers. So,
Well,
but yeah, those beginning years in 96, 97, those were the best.
I so sad when we lost Robin Williams. I've heard all great things about him from anybody I've interviewed that's worked with him, you
This is
know. Yeah. I've heard various stories about what was happening with him, but they say a lot of what you heard in the media was not exactly on par.
well, his wife said that I think he was starting to get a form of dementia and
Mhm.
things were happening, but he was severely depressed and he's Robin Williams. When you're always on and you never get a turn off, that's going to eventually catch up with you. And the same thing with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, once I got to work with him a couple of times, and that stuff catches up with you. You can't always be entertaining anytime you walk out your front door. I mean, sometimes you just want to go get the mail, or sometimes you just want to go eat something, or go to the park. And when you're that big of a celebrity, you can't. You can't. And so that becomes it's a curse and a blessing, right? It's like there's a point when you're too famous. I think the beautiful level of being a recognizable face, but not so famous you can't live your life. I think that's a nice place to be. You get a nice, healthy paycheck. You can live kind of a pretty decent lifestyle. You can contribute back to society, and you can help other people. But I don't think I'd ever want to be that famous. I really don't.
Yeah, there's a level to it too, you know? I'll point out 2 actresses in particular. I used to really like Jennifer Lawrence,
Oh yeah.
and she did something that completely turned me off her 180, you know?
Mm,
She's, been in interviews stating that she won't do selfies with fans
mm,
because she don't know who they are, but yet she'll, get in do selfies with every celebrity, possible, and anytime she's in an interview, I hear her not just say her best friend, it's her best friend Amy Schumer, you know?
mhm.
Like, we're being told basically, it's like for me, the watcher, I'm being told she's better than me, you know? And it
Well,
completely turned me off her. Whereas on the flip side, I mentioned I like Emma Stone.
mhm.
Emma Stone is fun just watching her being interviewed. I mean, there's something very natural about her. But when Jennifer Lawrence got pregnant or married, it was in the papers all over the place.
Mhm.
I didn't know Emma Stone was pregnant or even married.
Mm. I actually
She
lived
got,
in her apartment. She moved out of it, and I moved into it.
did ya?
At Hollywood, what a cool song. Hey, real quick, before you go too far past Jennifer Lawrence, she did end up coming out saying that people were taking her selfies and selling them, and they were making money off of them. And so that's why she stopped taking selfies, is she didn't feel people should be profiting off of
I
that. And
agree with that. I agree with that, you know? But, of course, why would they make a selfie is when you're in the picture with them, though.
right. Yeah, but people were selling them. And so,
Wow.
there's a huge paparazzi ring out here, huge. You see a lot of the top celebrities just get really frustrated. They go a little too far. They
I
they they
agree. The Princess Diana thing was a
yeah.
definitely.
So when you're that close to it, there's a point when you just need to say enough is enough, and you just need some boundaries. And there should be laws where paparazzi should be, within a certain, there should be some repercussions, and
I agree.
and
Yep.
they need to really lobby that and work on. There's certain times if they're eating dinner with their family, stay away from them. But if
Mhm.
they go out in public and they're open to being seen in public, they're human beings, and they're more than open to discussing and having conversations you know, that's fair game. But chasing them to their house and climbing their wall and trying to get nude shots or trying to get, the baby right before the first shot of the baby because you're going to make this huge paycheck, it gets weird out here. I mean, we live in a cartoon. Hollywood is definitely a big cartoon. And if I don't leave it often, I forget that I'm in this bubble. I really
Mhm.
forget. And you got to get out of it to see it. And so, I just, in defense for the entertainment industry, um, it gets weird. So, I know she doesn't want to turn her fans off because she wouldn't be who she is without her fans. We all know that. All celebrities must appreciate their fan base, or you lose them. Nothing's forever. Fame,
Well, I
money.
haven't I haven't seen a Jennifer Lawrence movie since.
Oh, there you go.
Yep,
Yep.
because when I go to the movie theater, it's
Mhm.
almost like and, what we got a 10 screener here. And it's like, it's like everybody involved with their movie, everybody from Tom Cruise to whoever does the voices for the Minions,
Mhm.
they all want you to go to their movie.
Yeah, they make more money that way.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, everybody does. So Jennifer Lawrence turned me off with that, but with Emma Stone, I love the fact that I don't know everything. And by the way, I don't search all that up on the internet,
Hmm.
but I love that.
Yeah.
And every time she does a movie, I watch it
Mhm.
because she knows how to reinvent herself. You look at every genre she's done. La La Land, musical, The Favorite, period piece drama, um, Easy A, teen comedy.
Mhm.
What was the other one she did? Super Bad, teen
She did almost,
comedy.
she almost quit. Like she almost like said, I can't, it's not going to happen for me. Right when she was living in the apartment complex that I moved into, right?
Mhm.
She was like right getting ready to break. I mean, she was right there, could have gone either way. And obviously she just shot to the moon, but she didn't know. She didn't know. Same thing.
Zombieland.
Mm-hmm.
Zombieland horror, and then Cruella,
Mm-hmm.
you
You
know?
are a fan. I love it. That's awesome.
I actually got an Emma Stone T-shirt over there of Easy A, but,
Nice.
I don't care about her personal life, you know? But I love the fact that she can kind of put that to the side.
Right.
But I really like I seen her interviewed one night when I was in Toronto visiting a friend. It was like just listen to her talk. She's just very vibrant and she's very funny, you know. And she seems like somebody you just want to sit down and just chat with, you know. Not even about Hollywood, just not about COVID. I don't want to talk about
Right. Oh
that.
yeah. No, I wouldn't join you on that talk either. So yeah.
But I dig her, you know. I really dig her. Another one I think is really funny too is, Anna. I like funny women, by the way, but Anna Kendrick I think is pretty funny
Oh,
too.
she's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yep, yep. I think they're funny, but Emma Stone, she's won one Oscar. I don't think it'll be her last.
Oh no, she's great. She's great. So how let me ask you a question. How did you start this podcast and how long have you been doing it?
You know what? I started reviewing movies in 1996. And I started doing that because I used to write fiction and all I did was rip off stuff I saw. And I was like, I'm going to get sued if I ever publish anything. So I just started writing reviews of movies that I watched and critiqued them. And in 2005, my best friend here had recommended that I go to CHSR, which is on the UMB campus here,
Mhm.
'cause, because it's a campus station, they don't deal with a lot of your top 40, so they get a variety of different shows. They didn't have a film critic, so I got a show down there where I played music and read my film reviews, and I did that from 2005 to 2015, and what happened then was, through a former colleague of mine, I ended up with an interview with Tommy Wiseau from The Room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I'm
That
good friends with James Franco, and that's his boy. You know, Franco loves him.
Why? How? What was wrong with the Academy Awards that they didn't nominate him for Disaster Artist after he won the Golden Globe?
Yeah,
I haven't watched the Oscars since that.
yeah, yeah. A lot of things are political. You know, you'll find that the person that wins the Academy Award usually should have won it the year prior, and this is kind of they're just kind of a couple movies behind. So
Yep.
there's a lot of politics, and it's more than just the movie itself. There's all sorts of things that come together to make it actually win the Academy Award. So, but a lot of
But
politics.
but yeah, Tommy Wiseau was my first, and it was like if it had been just Tommy Wiseau, one and done, it would have been a great experience.
Mhm.
But it was like, who else could I do this with?
Right.
Yep.
How long you been
And
doing this? Since '96?
so, no, I've been reviewing films since '96.
Okay.
I've been doing the interview podcast since 2015.
Wow, still a long time.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Well, since then, um, an actress named Lisa Langlois, who was in the movie Class of 1984, she's become a very good friend of mine. She invited me to my first convention
Mm,
to assist her at her table, and she and I have actually I got a birthday card from her.
wonderful.
Yep, yep, and I'm going to see her this fall because she's doing horrorama, and I'm
Hmm.
going to help her at her table. So
Nice.
that was the first time I ever traveled.
Yep. Yep.
Yep, and I fell in love with it, and I made other connections while I was there. You know, I got Vernon Wells from the Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
He gave me his contact card, and I've
Oh,
had him on here a couple times. And
that's a nice guy. Love that guy.
yeah, I love that guy. And I met other people,
Mhm.
and it opened a whole new world for me.
Mhm.
And some of the online Indiegogo stuff I got my name on. Like I became a co-producer on Indiegogo on 13 Fanboy, and
I think we had Vernon Wells in The Horde. I think, yeah, I know I did a couple movies with it. I think that's The Horde. Have you checked out The Horde?
I haven't checked out the Horde, but I was a co-producer on Social Distance,
Oh, really?
which he was in, and it actually turned out really well. It was shot during the pandemic, and it was all done like this,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
all done like the Zoom thing, and it was done very well. I was impressed.
Wow. Yeah.
I was impressed. And it doesn't hurt to have Vernon Wells, of course.
Oh, no, no, he's great. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know if he was in. I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen. Do you look at IMDb? That's our international or internet movie
Yeah, I
data.
got yours up here now. Wonder what we're going to talk about.
Cassidy Way. I don't. I want. I think we had him in Cassidy Way as well. So you know,
Okay.
all start to blend together. So
Yeah. And so, I'm not an actor, but a guy named James Balsamo
mm,
who goes around to the conventions and he gets these celebrities to do little cameos in his movies.
mhm.
And he's been on my show 3 times. He sent me an email one night, and I was working an all night shift at work, and I was on my lunch. And this email, he asked me to shoot my own death scene for one of his movies.
Yeah, we don't. We're not gonna do the work. You do all the work. You just send it to us.
You know what? I didn't know exactly what I called him. It was 4 in the morning where I was. It was midnight where he was. I knew he'd be up, and we had a long talk about it. So Linnea Quigley was in the film, so I did something inspired by what she was doing in the trailer for it. So I shot something. I'm no actor, but his movies are kind of that trauma kind of feel, so I don't have to be a good actor.
Okay, well, if I'm an acting coach. If you ever want lessons, just let me know. I'll run you through my course. Or anyone listening, any of your listeners are more than welcome to contact me at BSA. And if you say you heard about us at Greg Gilbert show, then we'll hook them up.
Can I act alongside Emma Stone?
Possible. I told you I lived in her apartment. Anything's possible. Sometimes you just got to be here, though. I don't know how many people in Canada to rub into all the people that are here in LA, but anything is possible. Anything. So
People ask me, one of the most common questions I get asked, so if you could interview anybody, who it would be? And I say Emma Stone.
okay.
And I'm like, yeah, probably won't happen. And that's okay. It doesn't have to, but
No,
I'm
you
like,
never know. You never
yeah,
know.
Emma's cool. I think Emma's cool.
No, no.
She is cool. But what I was going with was I shot 9 cameos in James's movies.
Mhm.
And one of them, called It Wants Blood, Eric Roberts is watching me on a television.
Oh yeah.
And
What
I
a
never met Eric Roberts.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, another great guy. Oh my God, he's so nice. Yeah.
I haven't gotten him on here yet. I got to get him on here at some point.
He would do your show. I know he would do that.
Yeah. Well, his wife was also in Animal House too, so I got to pick her brain. But
Mhm.
but James was put a thing on Facebook saying It Wants Blood playing at the Chinese theater, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm at the Chinese theater even though I'm here.
Yep.
It
Yep.
was kind of a cool feeling, gotta
Of
say.
course. Of course. That's the legendary. It used to be Man's Chinese Theater. It's not that anymore. But yeah, it's still, we drive by it and it's still legendary. You can just feel all the celebs that came through. Just
Yeah.
the energy's there.
Yeah. But I don't know how crazy, like we don't have a lot of big celebrities here. Probably the biggest celebrities we would have closest to us is the Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I love those
Oh,
guys.
of course. Yeah. You
I
know who
l-
else you could get? Like Steve-O from Jackass. There's some cool guys that would do your show and a lot of comedians. You should reach out to the comedians. They're always doing podcasts and they're funny. They're dropping jokes every time you're trying to get your show on the air. They've hijacked your show. That they're fun.
I'd
So
love to have Steve-O. I did see the last Jackass movie too.
yeah, he would definitely do your show. I've interviewed him a couple times and I've seen him around town. So good guy.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love comedians, and I've had a few independent comedians. One of the things about my show is a person doesn't have to be a big star for me to have them, you
Mhm,
know? I had a guy named David Black reach out to me one night. I had no idea who he was. He
mhm,
just asked me if I ever interview Aussie filmmakers.
mhm.
And I said, absolutely. And I said, would you like to come on my show? I had no idea. I looked him up on IMDb. He had a lot of trauma type looking films with
Right.
weird titles. But he said to me, he says, we probably won't get much more than maybe half hour out of the interview
Mhm.
because you're not familiar with me. We talked for 2.5 hours.
How long's your show go? I should schedule.
You know what? I just let people talk and do the thing. Like I mean, I got somebody scheduled at 7 here, so you're pretty safe. But Bruce Glover went 3 hours, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
almost all him.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Craig Muckler from Microwave Massacre went 4 hours and 8 minutes,
Right. Do you
and
do a lot of the horror genre? Because I know there's huge fan bases there. So we've
yeah,
got
I
a
do
lot
a
of
lot of them.
we've got a lot of scream queens that are in our Rolodex. So I know those garner a lot of views if you get your scream queens on here.
I've had Adrian King on from Friday the 13th.
Hmm.
I'm gonna meet Amy Steele from part 2 at Frightmare in the Falls.
You should interview my acting coach, Robert Russler from
Robert Rustler, I know who he is. He was in one
yeah,
of the Elm Street movies.
Absolute Nightmare on Elm Street 2. He was in Weird Science. He's really deep in horror now. So you should look up Robert Russell. Like I said, he's my acting coach. A little shout out to you, brother. And then also you should get Kayla. Kayla's doing a bunch of Scream Queen stuff. She's working out of where's she out of? She's out of Kentucky. She's doing a bunch of movies in Kentucky right now.
Who's Kayla?
So Kayla's I'm an acting coach. She's one of my acting students, and you'd never know, but you should check her out. I'll send you her IMDb. You can look her
Please,
up,
yeah,
and then
please.
get you
Yeah,
in contact.
absolutely.
I hope you get a couple cool guests.
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't have to know who the person is. Like
Mhm,
David Black was happy to come on my show, and I had a guy named Scott Hand
mhm,
reach out to me, and he was in post production on his independent werewolf movie.
mhm.
And we talked for nearly 2 hours. And
All right.
a lot of times it's just a matter of just having a conversation and making people, you want people to feel like they're valued, you know?
Mhm.
And and a lot of times I like getting people from certain movies, you know? Like it was kind of cool to get somebody from Face Off, you know?
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll get you my business partner, and she was one of the most famous Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and she went off to be a director at the NFL during the Pro Bowl, Super Bowl halftime shows, and went off to win Miss Texas, and then she'd be a good guest for you. So we'll get her on, and there's all sorts of fun people I think would spice up your show, and you'd have a lot of fun interviewing them. So
Oh,
we're
I'd
here in
love to
thick.
do that.
Yeah. So
I'd love to do that. And I don't ask personal questions either, you know. I try to make all the guests feel at home, you know, but yeah, Robert Ressler, I know who he is. Yeah.
we'll also get you Jimmy Cummings. He's shooting a movie right now in Savannah, Georgia. But when he gets back, he's one of the stars of City on the Hill on Showtime. I don't
Mhm.
know if you've seen that. He wrote. He was a ghostwriter for The Fighter, and he's done some really cool projects. And he's friends with all the Wahlbergs, and and he's an acting coach as well. But now he's a director, and he's directing his. I don't know if it's his debut. It might be his debut production, but it's getting a lot of press as well in Deadline, our industry magazine. But really enjoy getting to know people that I don't know. And when they reach out to me, it's even better because, like you said, it makes you feel good that maybe you're doing something that somebody wants to spend time. So, I've done over, God, I think over 2,000 professional films, 220 something on IMDb, our industry database. And, it's never old. This is
Yeah,
this
when do you ever sleep?
Oh, there's plenty of time to sleep. It's feast or famine, though, right? So during COVID, it was a famine. So we're in the feast mode. We have 5 films in post production right now, and that's the editing stage. We have 1 film in production. We have 2 films in pre production, and you just gotta take it while it's there. So plus, you have a team. We have a team of people that we work with and oversee. So
I
it's
think Robert Ressler, is he represented, correct me if I'm wrong, is he represented by Sean Clark for the cons?
Probably, yeah. He does all the circuit. Yeah, he definitely does the circuit.
I've
So
had Sean on the show twice, and I know Robert Ressler's been mentioned, so that's how I know that name, you know?
also
Yeah.
another one, Scotty. Scotty would be good. He was the little boy that stuck his tongue to the post that froze. You remember Ralphie in was it Christmas Story? Oh, he
Speaking of which,
yeah.
look what I just got.
Oh, the toy. That's him. Yeah, the boy in toy, the little
Yep.
boy.
And
So
he's
yeah,
I got Christmas Story here, but it's buried under a bunch of other
yeah,
Blu-rays.
you could get Scotty on here for sure.
Oh, I'd love to have Scotty on here. I've
It's,
had Zach Ward
oh,
on here
Zach's
who
awesome. Yeah, I love Zach too. Zach got married to a very beautiful friend of mine, and we see him, at some of the events and the mixers and stuff. But Zach's a really nice guy, even though he played the bad boy, right? He played the little punk in Christmas Story, but yeah,
I
he's
liked him best in Postal, the Uwe Boll
oh, yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
I thought he was great. Uwe Boll gets a bad rep. I've had Uwe Boll on here twice. Love him. A great interview. But I loved Postal, and I thought Zach Ward was great in it, and I've had him on here a couple times. And
Oh, Zach's great. Yeah.
but yeah, Scotty absolutely has his tongue still stuck to the post.
He, every year it gets stuck. But the toy, like when you realize he's the little boy in the toy, you're like, wow, So,
That was the year before he did Christmas Story.
oh yeah, exactly. He was much younger,
Yeah.
and then he went off to create some of these events, right? These celebrity events, and so he's, I don't know if he's still doing it. I know he was attempting to do them. So,
So these films that you're making, I have to ask, how many have Emma Stone in them?
not yet, but we're rising to the point where we'll start casting that level of talent in our project. So we're at about the $10 million feature level. We started out in the $250,000 and half a mil, then a mil, 3 mil, 5 mil. Now we're climbing to about the 10 mil. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could tell I like her.
oh yeah, we'll make something happen for you.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to connect the dots.
Yeah. Or Jennifer Connelly. I like her too.
Yeah, no, Jennifer's amazing, right? Do you remember her first video?
It was a music video, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's on the tip of my tongue. I don't
Flock of
remember.
Seagulls, maybe? Was it Flock of Seagulls?
I think so.
And then she remember when she was riding the penny pony.
Hmm.
Everyone remembers that shot.
I liked her in Requiem for a Dream,
Uh,
and I loved her in the Dario Argento movie Phenomena.
right.
And I actually went to see the new Top Gun just to see Jennifer Connelly.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. She did a great job. She really did. And she's aging very well.
You know what? It's great to see these actresses that are more than just a pretty face,
Mhm.
like because if somebody's just something to look at, you can just look up pictures on the internet.
Mhm.
With Emma Stone, she makes me want to go see what she's doing.
It's a star for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like she's invested me in more than just a pretty redhead. So I mean, and the faces she makes too.
Yeah, no, she's great.
What was she like when you knew her? Did you met her, have you?
Really, yes, really humble. And like I said, she didn't know if she was going to break. She didn't know if her big break was coming. And so she was right at that point where, you wonder, like Kelly Clarkson was the same way. Like I got big old hugs from Kelly Clarkson. And it was after she won, American Idol. And you would think that she would be standoffish, but like she was the nicest, down to earth person I've ever met. Same thing, Emma, when sometimes when you're born into it and it's just given to you, you're not as gracious. But when you really have to work hard to get it, I think there's just a different attitude. You're grateful. You're just very grateful. So because it can go
I
away at any time. Nothing's forever, good nor bad. It's nothing. So enjoy it while you have it.
Well, I remember when she got her first leading role, I think was Easy A.
Mhm,
And when she got that, I was like, finally
mhm.
somebody noticed.
Yeah. It didn't take
Yeah.
long after that. It was like a rocket ship to the moon. And it comes down to your agents and your managers and your lawyers and your team and your family. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Nobody does it by themselves. So you just got to look at the handlers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll say this real quick. If anybody's listening that has kids and you want to get them into the business, you don't want to be a momager or a damager, meaning parents can be so overbearing that you can turn off the producers. And as much talent as your child may have, they may not get the shot if the parents are too controlling or too there all the time. So if you want your child to get in the industry, again, we can help you at BSA, which is Boldi School of Acting. But there is a process, there is a way to get your child in front of the right people. But it's not just shoving them in front of hey, look at my child. It's like that's probably not the right way to do it.
Have you ever met Chloe Grace Moretz?
I have not.
She's somebody that's made an impression on me too.
Hmm.
Yep. Of course, first time I recall getting that impression was she was killing a room full of people and kick ass. But I was like, holy cow.
You know what's funny that you say that? I've had some photos that I dug up that I didn't realize they had gone off to be very successful, like
Hmm.
Sydney Sweeney. Do you know Sydney Sweeney?
I
I
know
had
that.
no
Yep.
idea she got so successful, and I just remember her as a cute little girl on one of our sets, or the girl from Spy Kids, Alexa Vega,
Hmm.
and then they're just like so cute and nice, and then all of a sudden you realize like these are huge stars. I just actually posted a photo that I happened to find, and it went crazy on my social media. And I'm like, wait a second. Then I started looking up, like, oh, she went off to do some stuff. So you never know. Like, you may not have it today, and then tomorrow you may be huge, and then the next day you could be forgotten. It's just this industry is such a roller coaster ride. You just have to enjoy the journey. But again, it's fun. It's a lot of work. You got to be willing to work. But if you get the opportunity, I go for it, because there's just, I mean, the last 26 years have been the most amazing years of my life. I'm going to be 55 this month. And
Oh, gee, you're only 5 years older than me.
oh, welcome to the 50s, my friend. Welcome, welcome. It goes fast,
There
faster
you
and
go.
faster each year. It's like that tick, tick, tick up the roller coaster. And then you get to the top and it's like, wee. That's the part I'm on now. Wee.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's talk about the 1997. You mentioned Contact was your first. Talk about were you just blown away to be on that set and Jodie Foster there,
I didn't know what I had fallen into. I
Mhm.
had no idea until I was in the makeup trailer and I see Matthew McConaughey getting his face shaved. The makeup artists were shaving his face. He wasn't doing it himself. I'm like, he can't shave himself. And then I saw Rob Lowe coming up the stairs when I had my makeup done and I was coming down to go and do my part. And I'm like, and then I looked over and there was James Woods reading a newspaper. And then I'm sitting getting ready to go on set, and it's just Jodie Foster and myself, and she's getting into character, and it's just she and I. And I'm just like, where am I? Like, how did I get here? It was the most amazing experience I've ever experienced in my life. And that movie turned out to be an amazing movie, of course. And then, I got to work with Britney Spears, and I got to do a music video, if you guys check it out, called Lucky. And I got to work where it was just Britney Spears and I. And I don't get, I mean, I love celebrities. I love Hollywood because I was so far removed from it. I'm from Michigan, kind of close to
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
But, I didn't think it was ever possible. And then I'm meeting all these celebrities. But when I worked with Britney Spears, I literally got tongue tied where I couldn't speak. And she's like, hi. And I was like,
You
she's
know
like, are
what?
you okay? I was like,
She gets a bad rep.
oh, she's amazing. I love that
Yep.
girl.
Okay.
But yeah, I was so tongue tied. And it's just like, I could not believe I literally couldn't speak. I'm like, what's wrong with me? She's a kid compared to me. And I was like, I couldn't do it, And then I don't know. That was just a great experience. And then I went to, you probably don't remember Tiffany. There was,
I interviewed Tiffany.
oh, well, I got to play drums for Tiffany. That was fun. She's so sweet.
I had her posters all over my bedroom wall at
It was
15.
her or Debbie Gibson. Which one did you choose? That was kind of like Christina
Tiffany.
Aguilera and Britney Spears, right? Ours was Tiffany and Debbie Gibson.
Tiffany was my crush back then, you
We're going
know?
way back. I
Yeah,
think we're alone now.
yep, yep. I reached out, it was 5 years ago when her, original album hit its, milestone, its anniversary, and I reached out, and they said that they were open to the interview, but the manager said that she had new material. Now,
Mhm.
here's the thing I tell podcasters. I've heard of a podcaster who turned down the interview because they didn't want to talk about the new stuff, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" What I did was I said, "Yeah, number what was Tiffany? Of course I'm gonna say yes." Had her posters all over my wall,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Um, anyway, I had her on and we talked about the new stuff. But you know what? I got to slip in the old stuff as well,
of course, of course.
because it was celebrating that first album. But I had a really good interview with her. Yeah, I remember Tiffany. Are you kidding me? I remember
Lovely.
Debbie Gibson too.
Yeah. No, I had a different experience when I met Debbie Gibson. I was at her acting class and met her through Howard Fine. Props to you,
Hmm.
Howard Fine. Um, and it was not the same experience. I don't know, just timing. Just like we're humans, we have moments. It was just a moment that was kind of an awkward moment. It just never really sat right with me, and you just kind of have to let it go. But people take those moments in the field, and if they have one bad experience with a celebrity, that they're a bad person, they go tell every press, anybody they meet, and they just spread these dark experiences, and that's rumors, and then rumors spread, and the next thing you know, that person's difficult, hard to work with. It's like, well, maybe that one moment, maybe you approached them in a bad moment, maybe they lost a family member, or something, they were in deep thought, or so I've learned over the years that you can't base one experience and just say that's who they are. So you got to be very careful. My mom used to tell me, when you meet your idol, be careful, because they're never what you think they are. They're what you saw and manifested in your own head of what they are, and they'll always let you down when you meet them in person. But then there's some like Robin Williams that would always live up to the hype. Jim Carrey is another one, amazing guy who's very
Hmm.
um, I mean, I worked with just so many legends. So, Don Rickles, the late great Don Rickles, I got to work with him. He was my MC. I've been Paris Hilton's DJ for years, with the Hilton family Christmas parties for 20 years. And, every person you've ever thought of had been in those rooms, from like the Kardashians to when he was Bruce Jenner, to Caitlyn Jenner, to I mean, the list goes on and on and on, just to just see how that world exists. They're just human beings like everybody else. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing. So had a lot
You
of fun out here.
you mentioned having a put off moment with Debbie Gibson. Do you want to talk about any put off moments you've had?
When you look back at them, it's not the artist, it's me. It was
Hmm.
the way that I approached them, or it was what they were going through, or it just, I had actually had one with Jodie Foster, and I had the ability 20 years later to have it in my head for 20 years. Like, she yelled at me, poor me, poor me. I was, and then I had an opportunity to see her again. And I talked to her and I asked her, I said, "Do you even remember that?" And she's like, "No." And I said, "You broke my heart. Like, I grew up with you, and it was such an honor to work with you. And I interrupted you. You just come off of, Silence of the Lambs, right? You want to go repeat, an amazing performance for a potential Academy Award. And I interrupted you when you were in character." She said, "I don't even remember, Tony." And I said, "I've been harboring this forever." And she's like, "Stand up." I stood up, and she stood up. She's like, "Give me a hug." And she gave me the biggest, most amazing, she's tiny. She is the tiniest person you ever knew. And gave me and I'm like 6'2". But the hug was like a 7-foot man hug. It was the best. And I'm like, 20 years I held resentment. Like, why? And so I realized that it was me, not her. And so if this travels to anybody listening, and if you get a resentment on anybody that you met, just think about how you approached and where your part was. And so I love her. Every time I see her now, she's just the sweetest. I know if I ever see Debbie Gibson again, it would be the same thing. Debbie's not going to remember me. She might, but I doubt it. You know.
My resentment moment was this from somebody I haven't personally met.
Mhm.
And you mentioned Weird Science earlier. It was with Judy
Oh,
Aronson.
oh yeah. Well,
Yep.
but you'd never met her.
You want me to tell you the story behind that?
Absolutely.
I interviewed Ted White,
Mm,
who played Jason in Friday the 13th, the final chapter,
mhm,
and Judy Aronson was in the. Ted was wonderful interview.
mhm,
Worked with some legends like John Wayne,
mhm,
Clark Gable, Lee Marvin. I mean, that guy was amazing, and I've had him on twice. He's a stunt guy. He's now in his late 90s, and anyway, he's doing my show, and we got talking about Judy Aronson in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and he said, "Would you like her number?" And I said, "Well, not in the air, but he said she would love to do your show." And I said, "Well, okay, after send it to me through email." And he said, "Yes." And we got talking further, and Kane Hodder's name came up, and he says, "Would you like his number?" I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Just throw my name to them and things will be fine." And Ted White's not at fault here, but I didn't contact either one of them for the longest time because I was a little nervous about doing that. But I'll tell you what prompted me to eventually do it. Dick Miller passed away. I had Dick Miller on my show 5 months before he passed.
oh, wow.
And you want me to tell you what's peculiar about that? I didn't have him on my list for an interview. I just noticed he was doing a lot of the comic cons and stuff, and I was like, would he do my show? And I
Mhm,
reached out and I couldn't believe I got him.
mhm.
And his wife was in The Graduate, so she come on as well. And
All right.
so I had this amazing interview with a guy that would be gone 5 months later, and it hit me that, you know, I have these numbers, maybe I should give them a shot.
Mhm,
So I called Kane, got an answering machine. I left a message, told him who I was, how I got his number, blah, blah, blah. Never heard back, and I'm fine. One and done, fine. Judy Aronson, prior to to giving her a call, I sent her a message on Facebook, which I know she read because her little icon said so. And
mhm,
I sent her the interview that I did with Ted White. And I even at the time marked where in the interview this came up because Ted White spoke high. Actually, Vernon Wells spoke highly of her as well. So anyway, she read it but never got back to me. And it wasn't until after Dick Miller passed away I finally gave a call. Now I never heard from Kane. Fine. I'm not angry at Kane Hodder. Judy, the first time I called the number, a woman answered claiming I had a wrong number. Okay, fair. I contacted Ted White, and Ted White was befuddled. He's like, but that's her number, And he was like, I said, you think maybe I spooked her? I mean, and he says, she wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I waited a little while because she was involved in 13 Fanboy, which is a film I had my name on.
Right.
And when I got involved in that a little more, I gave another call. This time the person answering claimed to be her cousin.
You're on to her.
Well, you know what? I never called again.
Yeah. You
That
gotta
was the last time.
yeah, just let him go.
Well, not only did I let it go, but some idiot that'll be unnamed from that film was accusing me of stalking.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't have a passport.
Right.
I know she lives in California, but I don't have a passport. And as far as online, my messages are there. It's not like I've sent her repeated calls, called her twice. And by the way, I can prove that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep, I can prove that. But somebody decided to take this and twist it. I don't know how much come from Judy because I never, well, I suppose I spoke to her but didn't speak to her.
Yeah, right.
I'm not happy with her. Not happy with her. And you know what? I don't blame Ted White,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you one thing, she's somebody will never get my money at a con.
right. Well, remember
Yep.
this: when you're mad at somebody, you're drinking poison, hoping they die. So don't be drinking that.
I don't want her to die.
No, not that, but I mean, you don't drink that poison, which is having her in your head. She's not renting your headspace.
Yeah.
So I could see it affects you. And so, like I said, if it might have just been somebody had done something that scared her. So
You know
everyone.
what? I heard that she had a stalker in the past.
Mhm.
Thing is, I'm not it.
Yeah, but she's not saying you. She's probably saying it just as a whole for her protection. So when you put it in that context, all of a sudden oh, I can let it go now. It wasn't me. I can't take it personal because we get a lot of. There's no borders in Hollywood, right? And especially
Yeah.
with the internet now, there's nothing to protect anybody. I mean, and I always say Charles Manson was in California. He was with the Beach Boys. I mean, he wasn't always locked up. So there's others that are there. So I tell all my students, be very, very careful who you talk to until you know who you're talking to. Do your due diligence, do your research, and protect yourself. Be smart. Maybe that's what she's doing. So hopefully after this interview, you'll feel better. And
You
that's the
know
purpose
what?
of being in an interview.
I don't have either of those numbers anymore. Now I got no problem meeting Kane Hodder. I never met him, never seen him at a con, but I got no problem meeting him, you know? But Judy, I don't need to meet.
Good, good, good.
No. And you know what's funny? In 13 Fanboy, she wasn't the actress I had a crush on from that movie.
Right.
The actress I had a crush on, I have her number,
Yeah,
and she's been on my show 3 times.
exactly. You never know. They're just like regular people. Not everybody, not everybody's who you think they are. So.
Yep.
Well,
But I
very
mean,
cool. So I have a production meeting because you asked me if I ever sleep. So I did block out an hour for you, and I have a production meeting. We're going to shoot in Alabama here really soon, so we're just finishing up some stuff over
well,
here.
I'll tell you, I'll ask you one more question.
Yes, sir.
Since we're talking about Face Off, I'll have you back on next year. I'll put you on my list for next year because you sound like a fountain of information.
I've seen some things.
Yeah. Talk about working on Face Off.
Mhm.
With John Travolta, Nicolas Cage, two guys I've heard great things about.
Right. And I worked with Harrison Ford. And
Oh, I
so, yeah,
love Harrison Ford.
Air Force One. So amazing. So again, when they get that big, they're very protected. They're in their own private dressing rooms. They're ushered to set. They do their part, and then they're brought back. So there's not a lot of mingling. But in certain projects like Father's Day, I actually ate with Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. We ate at the same table. The directors all. So it depends on the dynamic of the set. That particular set, everybody was separate. So there wasn't a lot of engagement or interaction with the celebrities.
Yeah, but was there a mix-up, like, with the faces? Did Nicolas Cage go to John Travolta?
Oh, exactly, right? Well, you obviously movie magic and how they shot that. So exactly.
I've
Um,
heard wonderful things about especially John Travolta. I've heard so many wonderful things about him.
you as hardcore as Nicolas Cage is an acting because he's a die-hard actor.
Mhm.
Um, Nicolas Cage was nice too, but he's more business, more matter of fact.
I
John
like Nicolas
Travolta,
Cage.
I mean, has lived in the spotlight for his whole life.
Mhm.
And John's had a lot of tragedy in his life with
He
his wife,
has.
his kid, and they know when he's flying that plane and he's landing because they're like when he lands his big plane in his driveway, his neighbors are like, "Oh, here comes John," and boom, the earth shakes. So, no, but he's a pilot. Cruz is a pilot. All these guys.
Harrison Ford is a
Harrison Ford.
pilot.
I saw Harrison Ford crash his plane. I watched him
Oh,
crash. Remember when he crashed in the golf course in that little yellow? I watched him do it. Thank God he lived.
I'm glad he lived. I love Harrison Ford. He's somebody I've a lot he's another one, like you mentioned Emma Stone. He
Yeah.
was somebody that didn't think he was going to make it either.
Oh no, he was a carpenter, but
Yeah.
he's a legend now. Yeah, I've had the
Wow.
talking to him as well. So just
Wow.
great people. It's fun, but again, if you take anything from this interview, people are people. They all have different personalities. Some are nice, some aren't so nice. Some catch them on a good time, bad day. You just never know. So give them the benefit of the doubt that it was maybe in us the way we approached them, and who knows? Maybe down the road we're all going to be able to to learn how to get along again. But this COVID sure divided us left, right, dark, light. Like it's a new world. And we run a podcast on Tuesdays called The Parlay, and it's learning how to discuss your belief system with somebody that thinks differently than you without
Okay.
screaming and yelling and going, I hate you because you don't believe the way I believe. We need to go back. We need to get back to
Yes.
how we can talk and agree to disagree. And we don't do much of that anymore. You either think what I think or I don't like you. And so every time I'm on an interview, I try to say, hey, we need to learn to communicate again. We need to work as a cohesive unit, whether you agree with me or not. And we need to stop screaming and yelling and throwing bricks because we don't get what we want. That's a 5-year-old having a temper tantrum. We need to stop it. We need to step up. We need to be responsible. And we need to communicate. And that's what the Parlay on Tuesdays is all about. So we'd love to have you as a guest on our show.
Please. Yeah, I'd love to be a guest.
That'd be an honor. So we do it every Tuesday in LA time, Pacific time at
Yep.
6 to 7. So whenever you're available, let me know and we'll bring you on. And, we're always doing
6 to 7. So that would be 10 to 11 my time. That works great.
Okay. Well, there you go. So every
You're,
Tuesday.
you know what? I'll get in touch with you. Mind if I add you on Facebook?
I'd be honored. I'd be honored. Absolutely.
I'd love that. I'd love that. You know, I want to have you back on next year. I'm going to put you on my list, and by then you might have your 5 films done.
I will. We better. We better.
You know what? This has been so much beyond just face off. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I love the fact that you are down to earth. And you're right. They're just people. Like I said, I got to know Lisa Langlois from class of 1984 as a person.
Yep.
We exchanged Christmas gifts at Christmas. She sent my cat a Santa hat.
I love it.
So I don't think of her so much as an actress as somebody now that is a friend of mine. And like she's even a reference on my resume because I assisted her at that event, and that's pretty cool. And you're right, they are people.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you, Greg, and we'll see if we can get you a couple more guests from my Rolodex, and we'll just keep listening to your show. So again, anybody that's watching the show or listening to the show, appreciate you. If you want some acting lessons, just contact Greg. He'll hook you up through the Boldi School of Acting. And if you want to get in a movie or learn how to make movies, just reach out to us. We help a lot of people. A lot of people helped me, and that's just how this works. We give back, we pay it forward.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Absolutely. Again, tell me what you want me to say.
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Hi, I'm Tony Boldi. You're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, and he's got style, folks. Look at that hat. You are styling it. Although I do have John Travolta on my shirt.
Pulp Fiction. We were just talking to Quentin Tarantino, and I'm good friends with his dad.
You know what? I had the Gimp on my show.
I love it.
Stephen Hibbert. Oh my goodness, does that guy like to laugh?
I love it. Hey, that's medicine. Laughing's medicine. You should do it 100 times a day. Watch
Absolutely.
what do that. All right, guys. We'll be back. We'll be back in a year or less, but reach out to us. We're here to help, and we get so much more when we help you.
Absolutely. And I'd love to be on your show. I'd be honored.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon then.
All right. You take care, man. God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.